Good day everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. In this video, we are going to discuss about the digital business infrastructure. To be more exact, how to manage the digital business infrastructure. Digital business infrastructure itself is pretty similar with the information systems infrastructure. Therefore, we will not be discussing the infrastructure in detail, since you should have already learned about this on the information technology system courses. We will be only discussing on several management issues that relates to digital business infrastructure, like how to manage the digital business infrastructure component, managerial issues in creating digital services, and also issues in the internal and external governance of digital business. Now let us look at the first managerial issues, how to manage the digital business infrastructure components. As it can be seen in this following diagram, there are 5 layers of the digital business infrastructure components. The first layer is called the digital business services, or also called the application layer. The second layer is the system software layer. The third one is the transport or network layer. The fourth one is the storage or physical layer. And the fifth one is the content and data layer. Each of these layers represents different managerial issues. And as you can see, this 5 layers division is based on the interaction between the company and the customers. As the first layer is the digital business services, which is provided to the customers. The fifth layer represents managerial issues on how management captures, creates, and manages data and content. The fourth, third, and second layers represents managerial issues on how management able to process the previously captured or created data. And the first layer represents managerial issues on how management produce value-added digital business services to the customers. Managements need to make decisions, especially on the second, third, and fourth layer as a foundation to capture data accurately from the fifth layer, and also to produce the best digital business services on this first layer. For example, on the fourth layer, management of a growing business needs to consider using a scalable hardware infrastructure so that the hardware can be upgraded following the growth of the business. On the third layer, management needs to decide the appropriate utilization of the intranet, the extranet, and the internet for the digital business processes. For example, management needs to choose the appropriate internet service provider for their internet network. Several factors need to be considered by management in choosing their appropriate ISPs. The first is the speed of access. This is related to the loading speed when the digital services is accessed through the internet. The loading speed has high reliance on the memory hardware of the server, such as the cache memory or the random access memory. A dedicated server with appropriate specifications instead of a shared one is appropriate for companies who want to provide the best digital business services to their customer. The second factor is the bandwidth. The bandwidth represents the pipeline or the highway where data travels. The higher the bandwidth, the more data can travel, hence the more transactions can be processed by the business. The third factor is the availability. This represents the availability of the digital services that can be accessed by the customers. The lesser of the downtime equals to the more amount of the availability of the digital services. The fourth factor is the service level agreement. The service level agreement ensures the speed of access, bandwidth, and availability of the digital services of the company. For example, a 99% SLA equals to only 1% of downtime. The last factor is the security issues, which we will discuss later on our following sessions. Managerial issues on the second layer represents how management decide on which platform where their digital business services is built on. For example, customers are using web browsers to access the digital business services of the company. This means that the company needs to choose the appropriate platform that is compatible with the web browsers that is used by the customers. Now, let us look at the first layer managerial issues. The digital business application infrastructure depends on how it is built or how the architecture of the infrastructure. The architecture can be divided into two. The first one is the integrated one, and the second one is the fragmented one. The integrated architecture represents a centralized digital business applications infrastructure, while the fragmented architecture represents the federated digital business applications infrastructure. Each of these architectures has their own advantages and disadvantages. However, modern companies nowadays tend to use the integrated architecture ones. For example, companies nowadays are using the Enterprise Resource Planning System or ERP systems to support most of their operating activities and middle management decision making, and also to support a few of their strategic decision making process. Other digital business applications infrastructure managerial issues include the intranet applications managerial issues and the extranet applications managerial issues. The intranet applications issues includes how to choose the appropriate platform for developing applications and how to manage the data and content, for example, by using an integrated database. Management also have to make sure that the application server is high in quality and very reliable. Management also have to make sure that the newly developed applications can be integrated to the legacy applications and data. And finally, management also needs to control those applications to monitor the service levels of the web server and both the corporate database server. For the extranet or internet applications, management needs to make sure that the clients can access and the client's applications are compatible with the digital services provided by the company. For example, in choosing the appropriate ISPs, as we have discussed earlier. Management also have to ensure that its applications can be integrated with their partners and their intermediaries. For example, if the digital application also provides a tracking feature, the application can integrate Google Maps through the Google Maps application programming interface, which helps one application to communicate with other applications automatically. The last managerial issues are the intranet and internet or extranet governance. For the intranet governance, it is related to the company's policies and procedure for their internal business process. For the internet or extranet governance remains a question. The internet governance is defined by Esther Dyson as the control put in place to manage the growth of the internet and its usage. Several parties, be it companies, consortiums, and also countries, try to govern their own internet. For example, in Indonesia, we have the Health Internet Program from the Ministry of Telecommunications and Communications, which limits our internet access to several censorships. Consortiums such as the ICANN and the Internet Society are also trying to govern the internet in their own ways. Companies such as Google also manage to be able to govern the internet through their own application. However, at the end of the day, there are three core principles of the internet, which are 1. No one owns it. 2. Everyone can use it. And 3. Anyone can also improve it. These three core principles open an unlimited possibilities for open source communities, such as the Open Source Initiative. Open source applications has their own advantages and disadvantages. For example, it's free but lack of features. Less cost to maintain but a little bit buggy. Very flexible and probably lack of support, especially an integrated support. That's all that I can explain. For further details, we can discuss it on our synchronized session. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Then I will be seeing you guys next week. Good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.